Welcome to Learn Tech Today English. Learn today, understand better, and succeed tomorrow.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into some truly profound insights from monk Gaur Gopaldas and his transformative book, Energize Your Mind. We're going to be exploring the architecture of our own resilience and literally learning how to upgrade our internal mental engineering to navigate life's toughest challenges. You know, in our incredibly fast-paced, always-on modern world, it is so easy to feel completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stress and conflict we face every single day. We almost always think that surviving these challenges is about fighting the outside world. But as we're going to discover today, the secret to true resilience actually lies entirely in how we construct our own inner boundaries. So let's kick things off with a question that might sound a little unrelated at first. Was it just the iceberg that doomed the Titanic, or was it something much deeper? For over a century, the popular narrative has always placed all the blame on the external environment, right? The icy water, the lack of visibility, and of course that massive iceberg. And honestly, we have a tendency to do this exact same thing in our own lives. We immediately blame our external circumstances, our jobs, our relationships, our daily inconveniences whenever we experience a mental or emotional crash. But science actually paints a fascinating, totally different picture. The Titanic actually sank because of monumental internal structural flaws. Think about it. The ship was cruising recklessly at 22 knots through a known ice field. They used subpar, low-quality steel in critical parts of the hull. And arguably the worst part? Millions of weaker, hand-cast iron rivets were placed right in the vulnerable bow, which catastrophically collapsed on impact. This historical tragedy perfectly illustrates how our own mental fortitude dictates whether we sink or sail. It's almost never the external icebergs that sink us. It's our poor internal construction. If our emotional rivets are weak, well, any pressure at all is going to break us. Now, to build that internal strength, we first have to really understand the crew inside our mental ship, our fundamental human nature. Das had this massive realization about what truly makes us human when he shared a stage in Singapore with Sophia the robot. Sophia is this incredibly lifelike humanoid, an absolute marvel of artificial intelligence. She gave this eloquent, flawless speech that just amazed the entire crowd. But despite her brilliance, she was ultimately just plugged into a wall, completely devoid of genuine, messy human feeling. And look at the core difference here. Sophia's responses to praise, laughter, and applause, they were entirely programmed. She didn't actually feel pleasure or honor in that moment. We, however, are not humanoids programmed to just smile through the pain or deliver mechanistic responses when life gets hard. We are dynamic, sentient beings designed to experience incredible highs and incredibly messy lows. Trying to suppress those real, raw emotions to act like an unfeeling robot, that literally only leads to an inevitable collapse of our internal structure. So how do we correctly process these messy human emotions without sinking? Well, here is our roadmap for reconstructing your mental ship today. We're going to start with the mind's Titanic, move into a framework to feel, deal, and heal, learn how to process guilt, navigate toxic relationships, and finally, move beyond our own ego.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the mind's Titanic, and understanding our internal vulnerabilities. We have to start by looking at the environment surrounding our metaphorical ship.
This quote right here brilliantly captures the paradox of the human condition. The water that helps a ship sail is also responsible for it to sink if it enters the ship. Take a second to really absorb that. It's wild, right? The very emotions, ambitions, and external pressures that propel us forward in life are the exact same forces that can completely destroy us if we haven't built a healthy internal boundary to keep the water out. We absolutely need the water to sail, but we cannot, under any circumstances, let it flood our engine room. Which brings us to Section 2, feel, deal, and heal. Because the big question is, how do we actually build this internal strength when we are totally overwhelmed by the water? Well, Das provides us with this incredibly straightforward, three-tiered psychological framework to actively manage our emotional state rather than just stuffing it down. It's a brilliant, practical hierarchy: feel, deal, and heal. Let's break down exactly how you execute this mental restructuring in your day-to-day life. First up, you have to feel. And this doesn't just mean crying, it means correctly identifying and labeling your exact emotion. Don't just generically say, "I'm sad," when what you're actually feeling is betrayed or disillusioned. You need specific, honest labels to get clarity. Second, you deal. Das shares this hilarious story of an engineering student in India who tried to fix a hole in his mosquito net by running a garden hose through it to, confuse the mosquitoes. It sounds ridiculous, but the lesson is profound. You have to identify the actual root cause of the problem and take actionable, logical steps to fix it, rather than just treating the symptoms. And finally, you heal. Remember the old fable of the angry boy who hammered a nail into a wooden fence every time he lost his temper? Even when he apologized and pulled the nails out later, the holes in the wood remained. You have to give yourself the grace, the time, and intentional practices like journaling to heal those long-term emotional scars left behind. Moving into Section 3, processing and releasing guilt. This naturally transitions us to tackling one of the heaviest emotions that can enter our hull. Elder Bednar really hit the nail on the head here. Guilt is to the spirit what pain is to the body. Just like physical pain is a warning system that tells you a bone is broken, guilt is a highly necessary signal that our moral compass has deviated from true north. It is an incredibly constructive emotion when it actually prompts us to fix a mistake. But wallowing in it, just letting it pool in the bottom of your ship, that completely destroys our mental metabolism and paralyzes us. Das gets incredibly vulnerable here to illustrate this point, sharing his own deep, lingering guilt regarding his father's passing while he was away serving as a monk. It's such a profound, relatable struggle. And by lowering his own emotional firewall and sharing this personal pain, he teaches us how to map our feelings using this exact flowchart. It allows us to calmly identify if we actually need to fix a situation, what he calls reasonable guilt, or if we are just punishing ourselves needlessly with unreasonable guilt over things we simply could never control. To finally release that unreasonable guilt, you kind of have to think like a mathematician solving an equation. You have to separate the unchangeable constants of your past, like a loved one's passing, the actions of other people, or the simple fact that you cannot rewind time, from the actionable variables of your present. Focus your energy strictly on the variables. Choosing to reach out and apologize today, or deciding to change a toxic habit, those are variables within your control. The constants are not.
All right, Section 4, navigating toxic relationships. Because once our internal structure is secure and we've bailed out the heavy water of guilt, we have to look outward.
We have to learn how to deal with the external icebergs in our waters, specifically toxic people. Das recounts a profoundly painful moment when a community member publicly blamed him for his father's death, right at a memorial gathering. Just a shocking display of insensitivity. And it highlights that toxic people typically fall into these deeply draining categories. They are radically self-centered, emotionally abusive, or sometimes they're just emotionally overdependent on you, draining your empathy until you have absolutely nothing left for yourself. Now listen, you cannot fundamentally change a toxic person. As the saying goes, if you don't know how to swim, you shouldn't jump in to be a lifeguard. You're both just going to drown. So the crucial point here is to establish firm, unapologetic boundaries. Step 1 is to recognize the drain they place on you. Step 2 is to reevaluate their position in your life and adjust your expectations. Literally, stop expecting them to act healthily. And step 3 is to remove or restrict them. You must physically or emotionally limit their access to your inner world to protect your own peace. And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, moving beyond the ego. Let's look at how we let go of past conflicts and patch the final vulnerabilities in our ship. We all make mistakes, right? But our human ego usually wants to either fiercely deny them or obsessively dwell on them. By running our interpersonal conflicts through the cyclical Gibbs model of reflection, which is this powerful academic framework developed in 1988, we transition from being trapped in our ego to actually objectively learning from our missteps. In Phase 1, you recall the event honestly, acknowledging what happened without immediate judgment. Then, in Phase 2, you rectify and reflect. You look at the cold, hard facts of what went wrong, what your role was, and how to improve. Finally, in Phase 3, you release and recover. You accept the lesson, drop the ego, and let the pain go. And this brings us beautifully full circle. Removing the nails of trauma from the fence of your mind will always leave holes. The wood will never be exactly the same as it was before the conflict. But true healing doesn't mean pretending the damage never existed. It means those past wounds, those old holes in your fence, no longer dictate the direction of your future journey. They're part of your history, for sure, but they are not your destiny. Ultimately, it is entirely up to you to recognize your structural flaws, patch the holes in your hull, and navigate the beautiful, incredibly messy ocean of human emotion. You are not a robot built to be unfeeling and perfect. You are meant to feel the water, but you must be strong enough to keep it from sinking you. So what's your next move? Will you choose to stay stuck, blaming the external icebergs of your past, or will you do the hard, rewarding work to build the resilient, unsinkable human mind? Let that sink in. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we will see you next time.